this installment of ASC Q&A is really special to me, excuse me, because it's with a young man whose career I have admired and whose talent I admire. And just as an individual, as a human being, he's just a great human being. I think most of the people that are here right now already know enough about Elias and his career, and we're going to talk a lot about that. But I think what he's most proud of right now is his current project, which is Vox Fortura. I had the pleasure of seeing, I think it was last year here in Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was an amazing, amazing performance with 4 young men who are extremely talented and charismatic and have just an amazing stage presence. And it was such a cool show to see. And I thought the coolest moment of the show was when you brought your parents on stage.
Oh, yeah. I guess they didn't expect to be the oldest couple in the crowd, huh?
But it was
great, wasn't it?
It was a special moment. I was glad that I was there to witness it. And there may be some of you who are online with us right now who have never seen the group. And so Elias has generously sent us some video footage of the group, and I'd like for you to take a look and just see how talented these incredible artists are.
I think he just booked himself a place in the final after. That was Simon Cowell in a funny way. I would make me sign a record contract right now. I wouldn't be.
To perfection. That was
So Elias, I'm looking at your bio and it said that you guys were semifinalists in 2016.
Yeah, Britain's Got Talent. Yeah, man.
How did it turn out?
That was great. Funny enough, the first performance we ever did as a group was the first round of Britain's Got Talent. We got together and started singing. We sang our first 2 songs the month before, and just straight away went ahead and took the opportunity. And since then, it's just been, kind of a whirlwind,
Well, Vox Fortura is not the only thing that you've done. You were a cast member of Motown the Musical, where you played the role of Berry Gordy.
Yeah, well, I was the lead cover for Berry Gordy, and I played Dennis Edwards.
Dennis Edwards, okay.
Yeah.
And in addition, you've had a role on The Lion King, Disney's The Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
You've been a soloist with the Dallas Symphony Orchestra, the Allen Symphony, the Alabama Symphony, Tanglewood Music Festival, and the Van Cliburn Concert Series as a special guest of Tony Award-winning composer Adam Guttell. Mm-hmm. So you've done quite a lot of stuff.
Yeah. It's been a few things, lots of travels and stuff. So it's been great. I've had a lot of fun in my career so far. Well,
I mentioned earlier that you were actually here in Birmingham with the group last year. And just tell us what you were here for. I know that you guys were on tour during that
We
time.
were.
You made a stop
We
here
were.
in Birmingham for the performance at the Civil Rights Institute. But what else was going on during that time?
Well, like I said, we were just at the very end of our U.S. tour that we did last year. And, I wanted to make sure that we came in, just stopped into Birmingham just to do a small something. I didn't want it to be too big. But we were also recording with Dr. Payne. Was one of the biggest reasons to come was to record with Dr. Payne at Audio State. And, for what we do in classical music, there's no better person in the entire world to collaborate with than Dr. Payne. So, we got out, we finished tour, came down. It was about 48 hours of recording. I mean, we were in the studio about 12 hours a day.
Wow.
And then we had the next day we did a concert at the just a small concert at the Civil Rights Institute, and I wanted to show the guys around town. Two guys in my group were from the UK, and they didn't really know much about Birmingham, and even the bass in the group, Jermaine, is from St. Louis. There was just so much culture that's in Birmingham that a lot of people don't know about. So we went to Kelly Ingram Park. I took them to 16th Street Baptist Church. We sang there, and a good friend of mine, Desmond Wilson, chronicled all this in a documentary, because I really wanted to show a lot of people what the essence of classical and soul is. When I explain Vox Fortura, I'm trying to explain. I say it's a classical soul fusion, and the first, people can't really understand it. You have to have them. You have to sing it for them to understand it really. So because of because I grew up in Birmingham, and because, my family goes back in Birmingham, very steeped in the civil rights movement. That is such a part of the culture. And when we mix classical music and we mix soul music, you can't take the culture out of that. And so what the documentary is supposed to show is the connection of the soul music to the cultural center of a Black American man, and even any Black man from the diaspora, and how that enriches the classical element that we fuse together.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Very cool.
And
yeah.
Birmingham, being such a cultural center, is the perfect medium to show that connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you sent us now what we have is a copy of the documentary, and we want to show just a little bit of that.
So yeah, it's great to be back in Birmingham. Back in my hometown.
Just finished our debut US tour, and we're really excited to be here to record our new album. Yay!
In 2015, when myself and Tommy and a couple other guys had this idea of telling the classical opera story through the lens of Black people. And that was exactly in line with what I thought of for years of realizing. And so we all got together, and that particular lens of telling classical music story, which has never been done with 4 male Black opera singers, was kind of, that was just too irresistible for me, given my background in opera and, my cultural center in soul music, and just being from Birmingham in general. It was a perfect mix for me.
To be totally truthful with you, full disclosure, I didn't actually know the historical value that Birmingham had, when it came to the black community worldwide, and to the especially to the Black community here in America. When I told my youngest sister about it, she's studying her master's in politics, so she said, I said, we're going to Birmingham, and she said, oh wow, that's a really culturally rich place for, in terms of Black culture and Black heritage. Me being from South Africa, and my dad being actively involved in the apartheid struggle, and growing up in post-apartheid South Africa in a nation that was, literally starting again from the beginning. It was the birth of a nation, and I got to witness that firsthand. And also as a person of mixed race, being from a white and a Black family, seeing all the historical buildings, the historic theaters, going to the church as well. That was a very moving experience for me.
It's really incredible.
Italy, Paris, France, Germany, Switzerland, Oslo, Norway, Japan. But to go into that church, the 16th Street Baptist Church, and to know what I know, it was heart moving.
See how far we can take this classical and soul fusion, and we want to introduce this idea to the world. We want it, especially America, we want it to begin in Birmingham. But this is just the beginning for us. We're going to take this sound, this classical soul sound, and really show the world, that, you know, black men sing opera too. And we also do it with the flair that we always have done in music. And B, we're going to show the world that, you know, that classical music is more than just the Mozarts and the Beethovens and the Puccini and Verdis, that it is actually taken root in modern music too. And so when we combine the two, you get a chance to see exactly what that is. And hopefully at the end of the day, classical music will have, you know, a new, you know, will have new life through Vox Fortura, and soul music will have new depth through Vox Fortura. So that's really, from a musical standpoint, what we're trying to do.
So let's talk just a little bit about your journey. You're in London now, but you started off here in Birmingham, and actually, and actually, you spent some time here at the Alice Stevens Center. Can you talk just a little bit about what brought you to the Alice Stevens Center?
I mean, I pretty much grew up in the Alice Stevens Center. I don't know if you guys remember Chamsey. She used to work at the Alice Stevens for years. So I was a kid, and she'd give me a call whenever she thought there was something I'd be interested in seeing, which is just about everything. And she'd let work a little bit in the gift shop, just enough until the show started, and then I'd sneak in and watch the concerts. And so when I went to school at SMU, my freshman year, I came back and I did an internship. Dana knows I worked with her. And a few other guys, just to do learn more about the behind this, what goes on to make, you know, the Alice Stevens Center tick. Mm-hmm. And then I came back and I did my first show was the Martin Luther King celebration that you do. Oh, right. And I sang a couple of songs there. And then the following year I came back and did a Porgy and Bess in concert with the symphony. So it was a part of me since I want to say, I mean, was it my 10 years old when I started going? About 10? Yeah. Wow. So it's a part of me as much as anything.
Which is the reason that I really wanted to make you a part of this series. You have not only had an outstanding career, but it started in many ways right here at the Alice Stevens Center.
Exactly.
Can you tell us just a little bit about the early influences? Like, how did you get into music? What was the spark? What inspired you to want to even start with music?
Well, music's always been a part of my family. You know, I've got some great singers in my family already. One of my cousins, Jan, is on now. Is a fantastic singer. But my first influence for classical music really came at Altamont. You know, I went to Altamont from 5th grade all the way to 12th grade. And when I went there, you know, the choir was one of the biggest things about one of the biggest parts of the school, one of the biggest organizations. And my teacher, Dwayne Tibbs, plucked me off the soccer field and, you know, brought me in the choir. And then I saw how cute all the girls were in choir at the time, you know, and I was like, I'm sold. So I went, you know, I took some courses, and then he had a passion and has a passion for opera. And he shared that with me and was so diligent about making sure that I felt that I understood it in the way that he did. And so it was a passion that just kept growing and growing and growing. And by the time that I, you know, was a senior and I was looking for schools, I was going to play soccer. I was one of the top recruits for soccer in the state at the time. And I was going to go D1 and get all these recruits, but I broke my leg right before.
Oh man!
Right before, the week before my recruiting trips.
Oh wow!
And devastating. It was, you know, and I know my dad he's like, well, there's twins in the house, so you're gonna have to find something to do. I was like, well, I got this music thing, so I auditioned for schools that had a great soccer program and a great music program, and I didn't realize that I actually was any good. I just knew that I really liked to do it, and so I auditioned to several different schools and got scholarships to all of them. SMU gave me the full scholarship, and Boston University gave me a full scholarship to Tanglewood that summer. So, you know, that was a huge surprise. And when I went to Tanglewood that summer, and I finally got a chance to immerse myself in music, in classical music, for the first time with other people my age, just everyone were classical musicians, be they, instrumentalists, vocalist, and then I got a chance to do a solo and in Seiji Ozawa. Oh, that was it with me. That was it for me. I just haven't looked back, you know.
So you just answered one of my questions. I'm just curious about. I always been curious about what led you to opera, but I know that you do have some other influences. Can you talk about some of the other influences aside from opera, and then what led you into opera music directly?
Well, I mean, growing up, you know, I listened to, you know, whatever my parents were listening to. You know, we're cleaning the house on a Saturday, we're listening to Luther Vandross. You know what I'm saying? I still don't let a year go by without listening to Luther Vandross's Christmas album. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, we listened to the classic Smokey Robinson and, you know, all the Motown greats. Otis Redding, you know, my mom's from Memphis, so there's a lot of Stax influence as well. So that was always a part of me. But I was never really, during those years, music was not as important to me at the time. And so classical music was the beginning for me. And I remember there was a moment, I think I was in 7th grade, and the first piece I ever heard that I realized, okay, there's something different here. You know, there's something deeper that I haven't felt in this way before. I was sitting in the choir room at Altamont, and Mr. Tibbs played for me the Kyrie, the Introitan Kyrie from the Duraflé Requiem. And, you know, at that time, you know, at 7, I didn't know that much about music. All I knew is how that music made me feel. And so outside of all the soccer, outside of all the, you know, other things I was doing at the time, here's this thing that has made me feel something different.
Wow.
Completely different than anything else. And so I just wanted to know more about that. And, you know, and having great teachers that, you know, they, Tibbs made sure that I had my fill of it, and I just continued to learn.
Wow.
Yeah.
So all of this happened during your college years?
No, this was a high school. This is at Altamont.
High school. Okay.
Yeah, this was I think I was even middle school. I keep saying high school, but Altamont's from 5th grade. I must have been 7th grade, 8th grade that I heard that song.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it made an impression on you at a very young age.
At that age, yeah. I had no idea, again, about the theory or all that went into the parts, movements that I do now, but it was about the emotional response that I felt.
So when did you actually begin the formal study of the music and really learning the ins and outs, the theory, the languages and everything that's a part of that music?
Well, I mean, Altamont gave me a firm foundation. I studied French there with Madame Classe and Mr. Tibbs, and I studied theory. I studied 2 years of theory in high school.
Wow.
So by the time I got to college, I had tested out of all my theory courses. And like I said, once I did it for fun, really, but really once I got to Tanglewood and I had that moment, it was serious business to me at that point.
Wow.
My influences, you know, I started when I was in high school. I really listened to a lot of older opera singers. So we're talking about people like Franco Corelli, UC Bjorling, these guys from they call the Golden Age, pre-Pavarotti, if that makes any sense. So a lot of my influence when it comes to my operatic style that I like it comes from that bel canto period, the Maria Callas era, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But it was, you know, listening to Andrea Bocelli and Luciano Pavarotti when it comes to crossover, that kind of gave me the idea. I said, if you can take, if Il Divo can take a Tony Braxton song and remake it, then why can't I get a couple of guys together and do a John Legend song or a Stevie Wonder song? So those influences, watching the three tenors on stage, crossing over in that way, kind of influenced me to one day maybe get a chance to do it.
Mm-hmm. So that's a good lead into my next question, actually, is when did you make that conscious decision, and all of us as professional artists and performing artists have to make that decision at some point in your life, to take your music from just being something that you do because you love and that it excites you, and maybe you can meet girls or whatever, and decide, okay, well, this is something that I really want to do as a career. And you make that very, very important career choice, this decision. When did you actually have that moment and say, well, I love this enough to make this my career, make this what I do for a living?
Well, I felt like I wanted to after Tanglewood. So when I went to college, and one thing my voice teacher from SMU told me my freshman year, she was like, do you want to be a professional singer? I said, yes, I do. She said, well, you are.
Wow.
And she gave me my first gig. I got my first gig singing with her that Christmas, doing a Mall of the Night Visitors, which is an opera I did at Altamont. So I knew all the words.
Wow.
And I was so nerdy. I mean, it's a funny story. I was so nerdy about it in college. Every Halloween, she had a party, and she made me dress up like Steve Urkel because she said I annoyed her so much because I was in her office every single day asking questions. But that was it. I mean, she basically said, you are. Go out and work, which is why and having the opportunities that I had at the Alice Stevens Center when I was in when I was in college, and Opera Birmingham coming, giving me opportunities to do, Lucia di Lammermoor and Le Nozze di Figaro and those things when I was younger really helped me form really helped me to form as a musician. A lot of my friends who I've studied with and known through the business didn't have that kind of support system. If you're from New York and you may not get the opportunity to sing, at the Met or something like that, but Opera Birmingham gave me those opportunities in small Aida singing, a small role like the messenger and being on stage with these greats. And it was fantastic.
Yeah. So
it really helped me to be able to, yeah.
I was about to ask, what was that first paying gig?
What's the first paying gig? Well, I mean, when I was at Altamont, we sang the in the chorus of Aida, but that wasn't paid. I guess my first paying gig would have been that gig that Virginia Dupree gave me that Christmas, the Mall of the Night Visitors.
Wow.
It might have been $50 or something, but it was money, so it was enough for me.
You don't even want to know how little I play gigs for. $50 would have been good. So let's talk a little bit about the acting portion of what you do, because I know that you're a great singer. How do you make the transition from singing to acting, and how do you combine the two? And when did you begin to do that?
You mean like musical theater and then Simba?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when I left SMU, I got into Juilliard, and I was going to New York. I was going to go to Juilliard, so I moved up there. But I took some time, and really before all that, I took some time and just had a year, got into the scene and really thought about it. And then decided not to go to Juilliard after that year because I saw a whole world. New York will open your eyes like none other, so I'm up there, just graduated some of the best times in my life. And what I did was create my own master's program, right? Mm-hmm. So I went to LA and studied with a guy named Seth Riggs, who's he's Josh Groban, Michael Jackson, Natalie Cole. He's taught a lot of those guys. taught me for a few months and taught me how to cross over with the opera into more of a sound. Then I went to Germany and studied with a guy that kind of helped round that out. But just taking courses like that to open, you know, to open other sides of it besides just opera. And a lot of it comes from just studying with people while you're singing. You know, I remember the first person that ever opened up my high C. I was singing. I was in Dallas, and I was singing at the Dallas Opera, Porgy and Bess, Crabman, and I wanted to sing that big high. I wanted to throw a high note in there at the end. I just could not get it. And the guy that was singing Crown, Lester Lynch, said, "Come on over here for a second." Took me to a practice room, and I've been trying this for years at this point.
Wow.
Took me to a practice room. 25 minutes later, I came out. It was flawless.
Wow.
So, you know, when you're working in an industry and you see people, you know, that you envy, or things that you see people that have things that you'd like to be able to have, most people are really an open book, you know, and especially, you know, a lot of times I was the youngest guy there. So, you know, I'm always bright eyed, you know, like, hey, can you, you know, I'm the annoying guy, you know, just always asking questions. But a lot of what I've learned comes from people that I've worked with, my colleagues.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about Vox Fortura for a little bit. How did that get started? And was it a group that you put together yourself, or was it a group that was put together by someone else? Just kind of walk us through how all of that began. So
in 2015, you know, I was approached. Myself and Tommy are the original members of the group. The arranger, his name's Christian. You know, he approached us and you know, asked us if we wanted to start to do a classical group with you know, 4 black guys, or 5 at that time, 5 black guys, and I'd always wanted to do that. You know, it was something since I saw Josh Groban, you know, back in the day. I even have videos of me playing when I'm in my 20s in New York, some crossover stuff from him. So it was kind of offered to help start this group, and I just jumped at it. I mean, I was right in the middle of a whole musical, 6 days, 6 nights a week, but I didn't want to let the opportunity pass. You know, so I didn't probably take a day off for a year and a half, but we were doing both. So I was doing Motown and also doing Britain's Got Talent all of my vacation days. Wow. I had to take it was really insane. And Sundays, you know, playing and singing in Soho sometimes. But so when he asked for that, you know, I don't think he even realized that it was something that I had actually wanted to do for a year, probably 10 years before I'd been thinking about that. So we got together, Christian, wonderful musician, gave us 2 pieces, gave us Lately, an arrangement of Lately by Stevie Wonder. Right. And he gave us an arrangement of a piece called We Will Stand Together by Edward Elgar, which is a quintessentially British composer. So when we actually got together and all of us opened our mouths together to make this sound, and really for the first time kind of play around with the fusion, right? You know? Yeah. I mean, when you got the how do you start Lately if you're singing it classically, you know? Right. And this letting those kind of ideas just flow, you know, without really thinking too much about it and just going for it. It was such a powerful moment. It was so powerful that we said, you know what, this is definitely something that we should continue to do. Right. And looked up and said, oh, Britain's Got Talent's auditioning next month. And we just said, you know what, let's go for it. Did the audition, and that was it. And you just answered my next question. I was gonna ask you, how quickly was the time from the inception of the group till the time that you guys were on Britain's Got Talent? Maybe a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you'd only been together for a month.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, you know, we sang the music. We saw there was a small opportunity. There's a small window to get into the audition. So we realized this was something that was significant, right? So we decided just to go for it. You know, why not? What's the worst that can happen?
Right. just wind up being semifinalist on it. That's it. I usually like to talk for about 30 minutes with you individually. I could talk to you all evening, just asking you questions about your career. And because these are things that when we get together and talk in Birmingham, we never talk about you. We talk about the business and other things.
Exactly. Yeah.
So just really getting to know you and some of the things that you've done and your process is really fascinating to me. But we do have some other people that want to ask questions. So, Amanda, are you looking at the chat and see some questions that we can start asking?
I am. So the first question I see is from Keith. You should be able to unmute yourself now. So Keith, if you want to go ahead and ask your question. Is Keith here?
Hey, Keith.
Microphone isn't working. Okay, cool. Well, then I will relay it for you. So the question is, what's your favorite song that you enjoy singing?
Opera or just in general?
So I'm in the chat here. So I think just overall. Keith, you can pop in the chat if you want to clarify.
Ooh, that's a really hard question to ask someone that sings all different styles. I guess my favorite classical song to sing is from an opera called Arlesiana. I know, Keith, you know this one. It's E la solita storia del pastore. Absolute beautiful, beautiful aria. In general, I love A Change Is Gonna Come by Sam Cooke. It just depends on if I wake up in the morning and can actually sing it. But when it's in there, I absolutely love that song. There's just so many. There's so many. But I would say those two are probably some of my favorites. I will say that since the pandemic, every single day I've woken up with Donny Hathaway's "Someday We'll All Be Free" in my head almost every single day I wake up.
Wow.
So that's probably one lately that has been really, really on my mind.
And for those of you who don't know, Elias is with us today from London.
Oh yeah.
It's midnight, after midnight there.
It's almost 1 o'clock. It's 1 o'clock in the morning here. Yeah.
And I do have one other question that was on my list. How long have you been in London, and what brought you there, or what took you there?
I've been in London for over 5 years now. So it was 5 years in December, which is very pretty crazy for me to even think it's been that long. It's just flown by. But I came to London from Hong Kong. I was doing Simba and the Lion King in Hong Kong for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a decision to make. I was with a ex-girlfriend at that time, and she was moving to London to do a West End show. And so I was either going to go to London or go back to New York, because I was coming to the end of my time doing Simba, two years out there. So I decided to go to London because, again, a new adventure.
Right.
And because I've been in Asia, I mean, at least they speak English. So, I mean, this is like coming home in a way. Right. So I went there straight to London and just basically started from nothing. I wanted to go. I went to work the next day after I got into London. Was it waiting tables?
Wow.
And just meeting people in the industry, finding out who I can send my materials to. Mm-hmm. And because at that time I had my own soul show as well. Mm-hmm. So I had my own one-man show, a couple of them actually. And so that kind of helped me bridge the gap so that I could start singing right away. And
I know you play piano too. I've seen some video of you playing piano and singing.
Yeah, I play. Actually, I one of my other gigs outside of just the musical theater and opera is I play and sing at a place in Soho here called Piano Works, which is probably one of the craziest gigs you can imagine. Live band by request every single night.
Oh wow!
Exactly. Now I mean, and you get your you know what I'm saying. You get your cheat sheets there, and if you know the idea of a song, you can get through it But you have a drummer and a guitar, a bass, and like an accent instrument along with the two pianos, like a trumpet or something. So yeah, that's fun. I got into that the second year I was in London.
Wow.
And that was before West End and all of those things. And that experience, being a part of that, kind of helped me as well to ground myself in London. And now, my fiance is British, so I'm here now for the foreseeable future. Yeah. We're here, yeah.
Hey, Eric, I think Keith has his microphone working. I know he had a couple follow-up questions.
Okay.
So, Keith, is yours working?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you, Keith.
There you go. It helps if I turn my mute button off. Elias, thank you so much for doing this. It's so cool to hear about your background. So to follow up on your favorite song, what do you think would be the perfect piece for Vox Fortura to perform that you all have not had the chance to do yet?
Oh, that's easy. There's a piece that we have been waiting to find the right time to put out there. And it is... it's a combination of 3 songs, and I call it's kind of a journey through the Black American experience in America. We start with Old Man River, which is kind of like the sharecropping, side of things from that era, and then out of Old Man River comes Sam Cooke's "A Change Is Gonna Come," which represents the civil rights struggle. And then at the end of that song, at the end of that section of it, everything breaks down. And then one voice starts somewhere from West Side Story. There's a place for us, somewhere a place for us, which is represents kind of the Yes We Can Barack Obama era of hope. And then slowly you layer all those portions, those 3 songs back in together. And the 3 people that represent each of those songs turn and face each other and kind of, recognize each other, because at that point on the stage, they aren't even communicating with each other. And so it's kind of like the coming together of all of us from all different walks of life and everything. It's kind of it gives this very warm together feeling at the end. That's a song that we finished, we've been working on, and I cannot wait to finally get the chance to sing that one.
Wow.
Awesome. Yeah. That's really powerful. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for that question.
So we had the next one in the chat is from Emily Rushing. Saying you have done an amazing job creating a career, but if you're a singer without the marketing and organizational skills, what are the prospects for making a living?
It really just depends. Some people just can flat sing and can just do it, and there are people that can help you with that. You don't have to be a complete package yourself. You just have to be resourceful enough or aware enough to know what you excel in and what you don't excel in, and try to find people to help you to do those other things. With Vox Fortura, I do quite a bit of the day-to-day. But if I ever have a question about business, I can just call, my parents or my sister to help me with those things. I try not to do too much of that on my own. I have agents that help me, get gigs in certain markets. And so a lot of them are very hands-on and helpful. But I would say, just focus on what you do best. And if you are someone that is great at marketing yourself, then by all means do it. But if you aren't, then you should be aware enough to notice that about yourself and find someone that can help you put your package together. Yeah. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. So we have a statement that says, I love how innovative you were with forging your own educational path. Lots of we love yous. And our next question, that goes without saying, right? Our next question, so Keith, you have another one. Do you want to go ahead and ask that one again? Keith.
You on mute again, Keith? Let's see here.
Sorry, it's my fault. I'm back.
There we go. Hey.
Two different mute buttons. What's the biggest difference for you between not necessarily the way you sing opera, but singing opera and the singing in popular gospel crossover, and does that crossover experience inform the way you perform your classical music?
Short answer, yes, it does inform the way I do my classical music. I learned this kind of crossover style. What really helped me was Seth Riggs. He has this style called speech level singing, which basically says you sing like you speak. Everything comes from this place of zero. So every sound that I make comes from the same position. It just depends on what your resonators you access to make a certain type of sound. And but it's tough because you can't sing with crossover. It's hard. You don't want to go too far into too much pop, and you really, if you're going to stay in the crossover, don't want to go too far into too much opera. If you want to be able to be as flexible as you can be. But yeah, the operatic sound and the operatic way of singing is much more athletic, actually. Much more of your body is used to create that sound. You will sweat if you're going to sing an aria properly. Now, soul music and pop music is a little bit different. Also because, with the evolution of the microphone, there's a lot of using the microphone, manipulating sounds to use for a microphone that you do. And there's a lot more sound that comes just from this part of your resonators. There's a lot more chest and a lot more of your head resonance involved in opera, whereas there's a lot of mouth resonance that's involved in pop music. But what I found is once you really get some of those technical things out of the way, and you really understand this, it's like with Eric, I know when it comes to, playing the guitar, you get the technique out of the way, and what I do at this point is just focus on what I'm trying to say and how I want to try to say it. And that's why I say classical and soul are really a part of the same coin, because you're not going to sing, if the way I say, for example, let's just take Lately by Stevie Wonder. The reason why I bring that up is because I told you about we're starting to form those ideas back then. If I want to sing Lately with an operatic, emotional connection, then that sound is going to come from a more operatic place. And if it's authentically connected to your emotions first, then you can pull out certain sounds that are more operatic or less, and that's where you get a more seamless crossover feel than you would if you just thought about it from a technical perspective. If that makes any sense.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great question and a great answer. I have a question in between questions here. You mentioned something about in your answer how athletic it is to sing opera. What do you do in particular? Because I know that it's got to take a toll on your body and your voice. What do you do to protect your voice and your body to continue doing it without injury and without fatigue?
Well, you have to. It's different for everyone, because this is a conversation we have quite a bit. Everyone's looking for tips.
Right.
But with opera, I found that I can't be too muscular. There's certain types of muscles you use, like the ones on the inside that you use that go when you're breathing. That out of the way of these muscles can't be too big or too tight. So you have to make sure that you stay loose. As far as keeping your voice healthy, hydrating is probably the number one thing for me. If I'm going to be singing, I have to be hydrated, and that's you don't just drink the water the day before. Hydrating your voice and your body is, if I have a gig, I will hydrate 7 days before, making sure it's at least 3 liters of water a day. Right. Just staying fit and making sure that you keep your stamina up, because once you get tired, and that's when your technique starts failing, and then when your technique starts failing, that's when you can really hurt yourself.
Right.
So as long as you know when you're tired, and if you can rely on your technique at all times and allow that to pull you through instead of just allowing the fatigue to take over, then you can really keep yourself from getting injured. You know, knock on wood. Let me get some wood somewhere. It's like with sports. It's just like with sports.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When most injuries happen at that time of the day when you're tired or you're fatigued, your legs aren't going, and you pull a muscle. It's exactly the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Amanda?
Okay, so Lisa, you didn't really have a question, but if you wanted to express your sentiment yourself, you're welcome to.
Oh, okay. You know, one of my favorite singers is Sarah Brightman. And she too has your level of ingenuity in terms of the opera, pop, or rock crossover. I think she cross-trained, quote unquote, in the 90s. So I really wish you good luck. I love your voices. You know, I think it's an intrinsic talent, and you fostered so beautifully and educationally. And so congratulations.
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh,
yeah,
totally.
she's fantastic. She's one of the originals in this crossover field because it's a really, really new phenomenon.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You know, most people know her from Phantom of the Opera. And they don't think of her, but you know, she is so renowned for her concerts. I got to see her about 5 years ago at the Fox Theater in Atlanta. And she canceled earlier in the year. She had a upper respiratory issue, but she showed up, and I took my 80-year-old aunt and some friends. We had the best time. I mean, she's just lovely, you know. And she was supposed to be at that time the first singer in outer space. I don't know if they encapsulated her and sent her on, but
she was huge. She was huge at for a while.
Yes,
you know. She was up there with Andrea Bocelli, really.
Yes, she truly was. And I don't know if she still sings a lot now. It's been a few years since her last album. But again, congratulations. I'd love to see it.
Well, I look forward to the day that I can get back home and get a proper concert for everyone to come and see.
Oh, we'd love it.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Proper concert. Sound like I'm British now. Goodness.
So our next question is, if you can go ahead and ask. Jean. You can go ahead and ask your question.
Are you going to me?
Yes.
Hello. Yes.
Hey, Elias, it's Madame. How are you?
Madame, I was just talking about you.
I got in a little late, didn't hear it, but Mrs. Garrity told me, and that was so sweet.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy for all your successes, and I'm so happy I've seen you doing opera, doing Porgy and Bess, etc. It's just been wonderful. But one thing I didn't get to see you in, which I would love to see you in, is The Lion King. I'd love to see you playing Simba. Was that recorded? And can
I think I have some videos. There was some what they call super fans that used to go to a lot of shows, and I'm sure somewhere on my Facebook page I've got some recordings of me doing that. So what I'll do is I'll go back through and find it. Just send me a message and I'll find it for you. And I'll get you a copy of the show. But there's several of them out there.
I'll look first so that you don't have to waste your time. But if I can't find it, then I will. Then I may contact you.
Okay. Merci beaucoup, madame.
Oh no, stop please.
That's my French teacher from Altamont.
Oh wow, how cool.
Awesome. So our next question is from Courtney Williamson.
Hi, Elias. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. I am not a singer, but I'm going to ask this question on behalf of singers. You have so many technical talents. Would you consider, particularly in the time of COVID, starting an online educational program? Because it just sounds like there's so much knowledge that you have that you can pour into budding artists, and just sort of the entrepreneur in me is just seeing a huge need for this, particularly during this time where people are kind of locked away and not wanting to let their skills go by the wayside.
Yeah, I've thought about that quite a bit. You know, especially just because of the type of crossover that I've really kind of spent my time studying. I think that there's definitely going to be a point in my life that I do that. I just, because when it comes to taking on that at this particular point, I've kind of been weighing, when are we going to open up again? Is there going to be enough time? If I had known we're going to be closed down for this amount of time, I probably would have. But I definitely want to do some educational things in the form of teaching, but also setting up a kind of curriculum, like I called it Sing School. I've already that kind of chronicles, takes these lessons of crossover through this speech level medium, and helps say a soul singer with the technical aspects of classical music without being too overbearing into the classical side, and vice versa, and helping people kind of find a way to find maybe a new voice and sing in a different way and give them much more versatility. So yeah, I definitely think that's a great idea.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
So Eric, that was the last official question we had in the chat.
Okay.
We did have a request for Elias for you to treat us to something beautiful, but I don't think your neighbors.
Oh my goodness. I wish I could, but I'm telling you, my neighbors would not be happy. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
but I think there's tons of videos and things like that are out there. I don't know. Eric, do we have anything, or I can always just post something later,
Yeah, what we have is, I think, what was sent that was a little bit grainy.
Mm-hmm.
Hear the audio, but the actual video was not.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I really wish I could, but just please, if you haven't followed my Facebook page, I'm always, or Vox Fortura's page, we're always putting new material up there. Cool. Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, any other questions? Still got about 7 minutes.
Elias, this is your mother.
Oh, hey, Mom. You can always you can ask me questions all the time.
I was waiting on this one.
Why don't you tell them the story about when you were singing at church at 6th Avenue, and you were leading a song, and you were singing opera with Mr. Tibbs as well. And I think I was in Leadership, Alabama with Henry Panion. It's been over 25 years ago. And you were worried. Tell that story.
Okay.
Mothers can.
I wasn't planning on telling this story, but again, like I told you, Dr. Panion has known me for a long time, and I've been a huge fan of him for a long time. But he, I was finding I was studying opera, and I was at church, and I was thinking, there is no, I can't sing opera and sing in church, it's just one or the other, that's where I was at that time, and what did I say? I think I told Dr. Panion, I don't know why, as a kid, just some of the things you say. I think I told him, I need to protect my voice, so I can't be singing in church, because I need to protect my operatic voice, or something like that. Mama, what did he say?
No, you asked me to ask him if it was okay for you to sing and lead a song, and a gospel song at church. You were probably 9 or 10, because you really didn't want to hurt your operatic voice. And I asked Henry, and he looked at me and he said, "Tell Elias that his little 10-year-old voice will be fine. Everyone that sings opera, Kathleen Battle, he went on, Jessica Norman, Leontine Price. I mean, he went on and on and on, all sang gospel. So his little 10-year-old voice will be fine. Will be safe."
You basically got told off by Dr. Panion.
I got told off by Doc. I sure did. And listen, Mama, when we were recording there, Mama went over there to remind him of that story.
And what's funny is I can hear him saying it. I can hear the inflections in his voice. I hear all of that.
Oh yeah, definitely. That was one of the coolest things, was getting in that brand new studio at Audio State and recording with Doc. I mean, you know, it was great. And I kept telling the guys, you know, I was like, we're gonna come to Birmingham. We're gonna be recording in Birmingham. Like, it's, you know, we're in London. Why would we go to Birmingham and record? We're in London, like, you know, Abbey Road, all these places. I was like, no, you don't understand. There is a guy in Birmingham that we have to record with.
Right.
And when we got there, we got to meet Doc, and he'll tell these stories about, you know, him and Stevie Wonder and Aretha Franklin, just like they're nothing. And, you know, you just see it in my guy's faces, like, wow. And we did some amazing things in the studio together. Yeah, it was really fun.
Is that an album that's going to come out anytime soon, or is it?
Yeah. We're gonna take our time with it. We're in the finishing process now of it. And I just want to, we're gonna be putting it out, but it's already almost done. Yeah.
Can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
We had a couple more questions pop up. We had a request, Elias, for your Instagram handle.
It's just Elias Hendricks.
All right. And then also Emily has another question.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just curious, is the West End still, are all the theaters dark? What does it look like is going to happen?
Oh yeah, COVID.
Yeah.
So yeah, everything is dark. Also, we talked about Phantom. Phantom is closed for good now. It's really hard because the West End also had so many shows. It's going to be very difficult to see what's going to happen. Bars and restaurants are open now, and even some live music venues will start opening, socially distanced, at the beginning of September. But music theater won't be starting back until probably March of next year. So we're all hoping that it bounces back as quickly as possible. And I think they tried a social distance concert, and it just wasn't the same. You know, it's really Eric, and we were talking about this a bit earlier, you need people to react to your music and to go on that emotional journey with you in concert. That's what people go to concerts to see.
Exactly.
That's one of the best things about being a musician.
Right.
And when you don't have that and you put these restrictions on there, it kind of it's just not the same.
Yeah.
You know. So
it's a daily struggle for us at the Al Stevens Center, trying to, just find a path forward. What is it going to look like? One of my colleagues made the analogy that it's like trying to nail Jell-O to the wall, trying to just figure out what's next and what moves do we make and when will everything open up. It's probably the most challenging thing that I've ever been a part of in my 30 plus years as a musician, just trying to figure it out from the Al Stevens Center standpoint and from a business standpoint as a musician myself. I've been affected, on both sides of it. So it's really challenging. But we'll get through it. Yeah, we will. Yeah.
It's going to be some great songs about it one day.
Well, if there are no more questions, I can say that this has been probably of the series my favorite, just because I know you personally, I know your parents, and I know your history with this community, and I'm just so proud of everything that you've done, Elias, and with your career. And it's a joy to continue to watch you develop. And I know the sky's the limit. We continue to look forward to what you'll give us in the future with your career, with your voice.
If there's time, there is one more question.
Okay.
From Leah Garrity.
Okay. Hey, Miss Garrity.
Speak, Leah.
It's so great to see you. We actually were in London back when let's see, what performance?
Motown the Musical.
Yes, the Motown the Musical was, we were leaving when it was about to begin. And I told my daughter, who is a singer, I mean, she's singing, and I said, you won't believe, but this is one of my favorite students, and he is in this performance, and we are not going to be able
Oh no.
Yeah, and we haven't been back since. But anyway, she was in the choir, and she sings, and she goes to Spring Hill, and so she wants to ask you a question.
Well, I know that your experience being a part of the Altamont Choir was very significant. It was also significant for me as well. I was just wondering if you being a part of the Altamont Choir, if it like expanded the genre of music that you listen to and that you like to sing.
That definitely. Yeah. I mean, I can tell you right now, if it wasn't for I tell Tibbs this all the time. If it wasn't for DeWin Tibbs, introducing me to music in the way that he did and taking such care with me as a student, I don't think I would have been in this career at all. It's the classical element is what I was saying earlier, learning about classical music and being able to connect that music to my own personal emotions was really kind of, I think, looking back at my career, I think that was the most important thing that could have happened, because it's paid dividends in every other style that I've done, So yeah, I definitely think Altamont's choir had a huge impact on me, And I always go back. I still go back, and I think a couple years. It's been a couple of years, but I go back and do master classes for the students, and I try to be as involved as I can be, because it was such an important place for me.
And we'd love to have you on campus.
Oh,
So when have you set a date for your wedding?
I was wondering if someone was going to ask that question.
Yes.
No, by the way, I'm engaged now, guys.
Congratulations.
Beautiful girl named Radhika. She's from London. Parents are from here, and we cannot even begin to set any kind of dates because we don't know when things are going to open up again. So in the meantime, we're just enjoying each other. Or like I said, I have time off to actually spend with her that I didn't anticipate. So it's really been great for us to just spend that time and get to know each other. But to answer your question, I don't know. I don't know. We will as soon as we're able to. We will for sure.
Good. We wish you the best.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I think that's all of our questions.
Indeed.
Is that right, Amanda?
Yes, that's all that I've got so far.
Okay, great. Well, thanks everyone for joining us this evening. And Elias, thank you so much. We're going to let you go and get some sleep now.
Yes, Bob.